Good morning. Sorry I'm running late here. Got a lot going on this morning. Bear with me while I set up. I really want to focus on the Tesla and what's going on there, and I really want to focus on mortgage applications. People have seen this number. It's kind of scary. The drop is kind of scary how fast it's happening. So we're going to talk about that. But let's let everybody funnel in. Good morning, everybody. So bear with me. We're off to a little bit of a late start. April 6th. Just had a lot going on this morning. That there. Let's drop it in the Twitterverse, and then we're good to go. You can never find the room if you're on Twitter. All you have to do is just type in coffee and charts as a hashtag and you'll find it. And we'll go from there. Just going to drop it in and we are golden. All right, we're in business. Let's go. Let's get to it. Good morning. So what's going on, GM? So let's just kind of review what's happening out there, and then we're going to jump into a couple of things. I'm going to have recently viewed up here. Let me know what you really want to go over, but there's some real key things we're going to address this morning. So let's just start here so everybody can kind of get this and what's going on. Let's collapse this and we'll get rid of this text. So this is just the small cap index, the Russell. Now, you ran right to the top of this peak and you reject it. You went right to the top of it and you reject it. So what is this telling you? This tells you that the volume weighted average of everybody that's been in since the peak is down. And every time that they're not down, they're selling into it. So that tells you that you have weakness. People don't like weakness. So they're not going to want to be weak. So they're going to sell into it. Don't overthink it. It's really that simple. Okay? It's legitimately that simple. So don't overthink it. Now, in regards to this, what we have to focus on is simple. We just have to focus on the fact that this could easily come in, and now we have to look at the levels and where it could get to. So you could stop anywhere in here, or you could keep rolling because the 10-year's up. But let's take a look at the cues on what's going on here. Let's get rid of this text. We'll get rid of all the text. So, I shared this in the private video today. I just want to walk through it for everybody so that you get it. I know it's a trying time. See how you rally up and then you falter, right? You're trying here, and it's not as prominent here, right? This is more prominent over time because the more people you have in, the longer this line gets, the more relevance it has. I mean, everybody kind of gets that, right? That makes sense. So here's the trough versus the peak. And you're kind of wedging in here. Now, I'm not a big proponent of saying that we're going to slice right through this. I have no idea if we are or not, but I would watch this level because if you break this level right here that I'm going to show you, if you break that level, all the average of all these people is now down, which kind of shows you where they bought, meaning nobody really bought here. They all bought here. Right? I mean, you can kind of understand how I'm getting there if I do that. And, real simple way to do that is just look at volume by price, right? And you can see all this stuff's all connected, but I do want to just hammer this point home. Let me see if I can grab that. Yep. So what I just want to do is just like here, if we bring this to this level where we broke, you'll see pretty clearly that if we do volume by weighted price since the breakout, this is like a little trick that you might want to remember. So in other words, what I did is I dropped volume by price on the Qs, and I just dropped it right to this level, right where the trough happened, right? And now you can see where everybody's in. Where did everybody buy? Well, everybody bought up here, right? Well, that's not good. Okay, so the move is to buy here and then not be buying up here. And you ran right in the point of control on that level. And now you're here. So you can see why this would be a concern. Now let's just get rid of this volume by price and let's continue to go. So overall, I want to address two quick spots that you should be focused on. So this is something in trading room we actually shorted yesterday. I think it's down 2.5%. Look, you're breaking. And if you break this level, okay, which is where you're setting up to break today, you can keep going. My first stop, I think, was 1050, but it's more like 1041, right? I mean, this is really where you probably would have to watch, right? That level. I'm pretty sure that's where we're at. Yeah. So that's really what you would do to fill the gap. I mean, you really have to watch that 1040 level. That's very doable today. I said 1050, but maybe you can split the baby in between the difference and kind of get there. But I think this has real issues, and the video is breaking. Very little to say. I mean, you're down 10 points this morning. So very little to say. It's another one we shorted at the close yesterday. So this is where you're at, and this is what you're dealing with. There's very little to do about it. Mortgage applications are down like 40%. Home owners, like, don't buy a home now. I'm just going to throw it out there. Do not buy a home. Like, I can't be any clearer. They're going to get hammered. If you have to buy a home, you have to, but hammered. And I can't stress it enough. But these kinds of names, like this is going to go back in the 20s. It's just a matter of time. So go from there. But let's take a look at the comments and what you want to go over. What's going on, Dan? What's going on, Bob? Good morning, Shane. Morning, Neil. What's going on, Justin? All right, let's get to it. So we don't have a lot of questions. It gives me a lot to go over. I have a ton to go over. I know I have a long. I am. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure there. So for me, I kind of buy these and sit with them. So that's not what we want. So the question was about ETH and what do I think of Ethereum? So here's your first level, right? Now, how do we respond to that? Well, we bounced off of it. I don't see a reason to change anything. The only thing that I would tell you as to why this might be all we're going to get out of it, and I just want to point something out. Please note that we're trading like equities. We're trading as asset inflation, right? I mean, that's all that we're trading as, okay? There was some stuff back here that Ethereum did really well where they did a test and it worked. And everyone's on Ethereum 2.0. You're asking the wrong person if you want me to explain the difference between those, right? I mean, I can't. But I just want to point this out, the inversion. So as the VIX dropped, what happened? Ethereum went up. Okay, what else went up as the VIX dropped? SPY went up. You're staring at the same chart. So what these are starting to do is they're becoming correlated to the indexes, right? So that's the point that I'm getting at here. So whether or not that correlation stays or that correlation goes, I don't know. I don't know if it does or not. All I could tell you is like right now you have a correlation. This is actually becoming less correlated if you take a look at it. But you have a correlation. So what do you do about that correlation? Well, you just have to be aware of it. There's not much more to do with that correlation except just be aware of it, that it exists and it's out there. So let's go back to this. I don't know why they even have the other symbol. I would say this about it. And maybe you can just see this a little bit clearer. Maybe just pull that up a little bit if it'll let me. There we go. So let's just pull this up so I can make the point a little clearer. Now, you see that right there? See this right here? So, people know that that's a negative divergence. So in other words, we hit a higher high. This didn't hit a higher high when that transpired. Therefore, this probably comes in. I mean, that's technically how you look at it, right? So something to consider there. I'm not going to do anything with it. I mean, I'll just add to it. I mean, that's kind of where my head is. My hope is that it comes back down to that 2640 level, which it bounced around. But I have no interest in really doing anything with it except adding to it at this point. I firmly believe in this. Like, I think that over time, that you're better off. Like, I'll explain how I look at these, okay? I look at this like the same way I would add to stable coins. You just buy it, you leave it alone because you're going to do better than savings over the next 5 years. That's my thought on it. If I buy this versus having a savings account, I think I'll do better. That's if you view it that way. Same thing with stable coins, right? Stable coins are going to work as long as they pay their interest. I'll do better than that than I will with my savings. And if you view it from that perspective, you're fine. It'll work. So that's where I'm at with it, Jen. Hope that helps. Twitter, RCL. What's going on, Sage? So let's do Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm long. I'm long this. I really like what I'm seeing coming out of here on a management style from him. He's definitely shaking things up. He's taking an active management role in it. I kind of wish I knew that this day, that what he was really planning. I didn't know if it was like, we're going to like run Doge again or what we're going to do. But with this rally up, you're going to have to work this off, right? And now you're kind of out of here. And if you look at it from this perspective, just to kind of get it, okay, so you're completely out of the band, which is fine, but the band's got to expand. And that's what's going to happen. So this is going to take some time. It got ahead of itself, and that's okay. I have a position in this. My concern having a position in it is once you break this, which it looks like you're going to do this morning, which means I'll reduce my position in it. I won't close the entire position, but I'll reduce it. I'm not here looking at this market going, I need to be completely in cash. Just FYI, I want to start building exposure into names, and this is one of those names I'm going to build exposure into and see what he does. I think over the course of 12 months, if you buy it here, you're going to be kind of happy. So 46.86, watch that, because if you break this, that's on the table as a possible break. If you break that, a gap fill's on the table. It could happen. You can't say it's not going to happen. So just kind of keep that in mind. RCL, look, people are not going to be taking cruises. Okay? They're just not. I'm shocked how well this is doing, but people are not going to be taking cruises. He's had huge bounces, and I would be selling right into this. That's what I would be doing with these. I'd be selling right into these. There's no way that these are going to stay up here. So if you go through a recession, or let's just say you don't go through a recession. I mean, that's pretty interesting how you opened right there, got over it, lured everybody in, and then collapsed. And now you're taking out that low, and now you're going to come right around that level is where you're sitting, which just happens to be this peak here, right? January 2020. So let's get rid of that now. But my point being, you're probably coming back down to here. This is not something I'd be in the space of wanting to be in. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It truly doesn't. I mean, like these were obviously all steals down here. You look 2 years later, you fourfolded your money. But what do you do now with them? Look, to me, this is very, very clear. If GDP contracts, this is not going to go up. It's just not going to happen. So, and so go from there. Now, let's just keep going. I'd be on the other side of that. Hey, Bob, if the 1030 reports with this BP and oil stocks go up, I mean, like, look, let's talk about that. I think oil stocks are going to go up. I think look, I have no way of knowing this. Okay, I think the crude oil futures, our crude oil inventories are going to be an absolute disaster. Okay, I think they're going to be an absolute disaster. It's not a political statement. I'm just going to say we have a very poor energy policy in this country right now. Like I try to talk about politics, but I'll talk about policy because it affects the market. The entire world is just off its rocker right now with where they stand, and the way that they're handling the situation. And it's going to drive energy up. And energy is probably going to be higher than any price than we've ever seen. There's a bunch of energy analysts that I really respect, and talking to them, I am absolutely convinced that energy is going to continue to run. But you have to realize that there's a shock out there. See how you're holding this 21-day? You're going to have to watch this. If the market truly sells down, look over here. There's one green in all the sectors of the S&P. If this market truly sells down, nothing will be safe. Nothing. Like, just to point this in perspective, we've been talking about utilities in this level, popped over the major trend. But you see this wedge, like this little doji, or not, let's just call it rejection, wick, right? Because it's not really even a doji. See that wick there? Take a look at this one. You have one here too. So the sectors that have really been seeing the money come into them, right? People are even saying there, I don't want to be in the market at all. Now, when you start seeing that, that's why I got very cautious yesterday. I got super cautious yesterday in the room towards the end of the day because I'm like, look, when you see this, like when energy starts selling down on bad news, you need to pay attention. Like, or I'm sorry, on good news, you need to pay attention. So that has me concerned. Now, people are still trying to figure out what the dividend's going to be here. I have no idea what the dividend's going to be. They're going to come out with the dividend, and the dividend's going to be what the dividend's going to be, right? You know, you closed yesterday at 15.20, you're opening at 15.92. That's all we know. That's all you know, right? We don't know what that number is going to be. If this number is a huge drawdown, yeah, you know, that's why I bought. And these are the names that I would focus on. I'd be focused on Arch. I mean, you're basically saying that you're not going to allow coal now from Russia because the other sanctions are going so well. So, right, what I'm getting at here is I don't really understand this rejection, but people got out. So I'm fine. I held it. I have a position in that. I have a position in this. I did cut them in half because I was down in them. I did reduce exposure. This looks like it's going to break off the open. But yeah, I do think that, yes, this can go up on crude inventories, on the numbers, on the draw. Absolutely. Oh, hey, Dennis, how are you? So there's a bunch of different, I put out private videos if you're subscribed to this channel that you'll see if you subscribe and click all notifications. You can also subscribe to the newsletter because I'm going to start sending them out that way too, as I'm setting up the newsletter a little differently, the free version. And then there is a trading group. If you're interested in the trading group, I don't really talk about it too much in here, but it's open now, but we're probably going to close it again to new members pretty soon. But if you're interested, just email me there and I can send you information on it. So, all right, SPI, KMI. Yeah. I actually thought it was going to break yesterday. It did not, in fact, break out. It went the other way. So, I'm short this morning. So anything I lost, I made, and then some. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not so convinced that this is the end, that we're going to just completely implode, and that we just don't sell down and trickle around. So, you're only down 88 basis points in the S&P. It's the Qs that are getting hit, and it's the market that's getting hit. So we're just going to have to keep that in mind. Let's pull this up. So here you are with the SPY. Here's your 200-day. You're breaking down. You're going to get right to this level, 443.83. And that's what you're doing, right? That's what you want to watch. There's not much to say here. I would just be very cautious. Like if you're breaking the 200-day, how much do you want to do? You need to hold here, bounce, set up, and then go higher, right? So let's get rid of all these levels and let's talk about what optimally you want. Okay. So optimally, you want to flip this level. Right now, you're on the lower end of this, right? You can kind of see that. You have to see how this opens, but I'll just kind of give you an example of what I'm getting at, right? That's pretty similar to what you're dealing with. So you have this channel here. There's a lot going on here. Is this a cup? Is this the handle? Are we going to eventually turn around and run? Like, we just don't know. You need to just watch this. Right now, we just have a market that's going down. And that's how we have to look at it. But us assuming that we're going to lead and we're going to break all the way back down to here, I personally don't see that. but I have no way of knowing that, right? Like you see this, you see this, you know, the Nasdaq might take out a low. I just don't think we're going to, you know, that's a huge positive divergence. I'm not sure that we are going to see that, right? I mean, you can kind of see the cup, you can kind of see the handle here. So you have to see how it's going to play out. I mean, to me, you're just seeing weakness. That's what you're saying. So we'll figure it out and go from there. KMI. So, I mean, you did what you wanted it to do, and then you just got the flim flam. So they pulled up, broke out, and then pulled back. I mean, that happened a lot yesterday, a lot. And that's a concern when I see that. So what you want to do is just focus on this. Do you want to buy this here? Probably not. You probably want it to clear this huge, nasty red bar now, right? I mean, that's how I look at it. I went at 1960. Until it clears there, I'm probably not going near it. But I do like it, and I do think it has potential to keep going. So, something to think about. I would avoid AT&T like the plague. I mean, I get buying this, right? I'm all for that. You want to buy that? I get it. Absolutely get it with the earnings and the yield. My concern with AT&T is that they have like massive problems. I mean, people are just, you know, I was pointing this out the other day where people were talking about, oh, I got my 10% dividend. You lost 30% of your capital. Like they have major problems. More people are leaving there. People don't want to be associated with like the, you know, they get out of all the corporate news stuff. They have to unwind. So there's tons of issues there. You know, people are kind of getting smarter with social media and understanding that, you know, they own the far left news and they own the far right news, and they're just, you know, they're making money off both sides, and people are kind of sick of it. It's an issue. And you're seeing that their costs are coming in and their costs are collapsing. We saw this happen before, and you saw this happen with your local carriers about 20 years ago. And you're seeing that whole thing again. Some are going to make it, some are not. They're going to have to cut their dividend. And when they do that, it's going to be a problem. I don't think Verizon is going to have that problem. Verizon also has other streams of income that are more geared towards, you know, the internet, things like that. AT&T does, but not to the same extent on a percentage basis. So I would stick with Verizon if you want to buy one of those two. What's going on, Inquisitive? What levels am I looking at for a potential bounce? Right now, I'm not really looking for a bounce. I mean, I would love to see it. This would be the first level I'd like to see us hold. Right there. That's the first level. I'd like to see us hold that 350. It looks like 350, 350. I'd love to see that hold, because that would mean that the people that have bought from this peak down are still buying. That's the very first level I'd like to see. So I'll give you that one. And then the other one that I'll give you is just, you know, I need to get over. We need to bounce here, right here. We need to bounce. We need to hold the 200-day. You don't want to close under the 200-day because people will just sell. Funds will just sell. They'll just say, I'll get out. I'll come back in tomorrow and relook at it and start building again. I'm not, because they don't want to go through it. SNY. I mean, if you clear that, you can take a look at it. Until you clear that, I really wouldn't go near it. You're all over the place. You're all over the map, right? I mean, there's obviously a clear support. Every time it's under this level, it doesn't stay there very long, does it? So, I mean, there's a clear support. There's a clear buyer up to about 48. You can kind of see that. So, I mean, that's where you buy it. I don't know that I'd be chasing it up here. Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be chasing it up here. You know, at a minimum, if you were going to do that, you'd want it to clear this level. At a minimum, before you'd get involved. Hey, Debazian. Could you look at pins? I'm holding puts expiring this week. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of those names make a lot of sense. So let's get to this. A lot of these moved up with what Elon did, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Look, I would be if I had puts and I come in and I'm here, I would probably be getting out of that trade and locking it in. Why do I say that? You look at all this resistance or support you're going to have in here, rather. Like you have a lot of support in here. If you pull something like this up, right, volume by price, we're going to have to move this back to something more realistic. Let's just go to the year. Let's do the year. So if you look at this just from a yearly perspective, right? I mean, look at all the support in there, right? So you just have tons and tons of buyers. Now, if you break the 21 day and stay below it, that might be something to consider, but you've been holding that 21 roughly. So I'm not so sure I would do, I'd stay short this. I mean, could it break? Yeah. I have a 21 that's pointing up and I'm not so sure I want to play with that. Right? That's going to break. That's good. And you're below the 8. So that's good. But I'm just not so sure. Yeah. And you're breaking the 50. I'm just with all this in here, I'm not sure that I would be shorting that. I think there's better ideas out there than this to short. So I'd probably lock it in. I mean, the more I'm looking at it, I mean, that might be what I would do. Actually, that is what I would do. No, I mean, I get it. Like, I know what you're saying, Travis. I get it. Like, I have friends that are in the industry. You don't want to hear people say don't buy a home, but it's this is not when you buy a home. Like this is setting up to be a really bad housing market. Like it's going to be really bad for people. So, the ARC G trade, it failed. Do I think you should blow it out this morning? I don't know if you should blow it out this morning. I mean, if you stayed in it from yesterday, right? I mean, like here, look, we didn't break out. Right? We kind of broke out. We kind of tried. Everything made a higher high, just enough to lure people in yesterday. I mean, that's what you really have to watch. Why? Why did they do that? Something to think about. Anyway, what you want to do here is just kind of want to focus. And maybe if you break the 21 now, you get out. I wouldn't be in a huge hurry to be selling this down 2%. Look, you could easily bounce today because you're going to have people that are going to cover their shorts off the open. Okay. I'll be very blunt here. I'm going to cover, I have shorts on. I'm going to cover them off the open. I'm not out there shooting Tesla saying it's going to 900. I'm out there going, I think that there was, 50 points I had the potential to make, and I've made a decent chunk of it, and that's enough onto the next trade. That's the kind of market you're in. Same thing with NVIDIA. I don't think NVIDIA is going back to, I don't think we're going back to 200. It could, but maybe it holds the 50, right? So do I really want to play with that here? Do I really want to short this down 10? Same thing here. Do I really want to short this down here? Probably not. So something to think about, right? So you might want to be looking at these like, hey, maybe this holds here, right? Maybe you're on the other side of that now if you're a short-term trader, right? So I think that's what you have to think. So, and the reason I'm bringing it up, Ben, is so you kind of get where my thought is. Like, look at all this support in here. Do I really need to get out of this like right off the open? Probably not, right? Usually panic and it's like panic or just get me out is usually not the right answer right away, right? So we'll see what happens with it. I'm not happy. I mean, I'm not happy with the way some of these stocks are acting, but I would watch it. I don't know that I'd panic sell it or just blow it out. You can come back to it. NOG. So yeah, I like these names, but these wicks are bothering me. And on top of that, you're just not getting anywhere. So just watch them. Look, if the whole market comes in, I think even energy is going to come in today. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. EWG. Yeah, I like this, but I like this. So here, let me just show you this. So the volume is just falling off a cliff, right? Nobody's buying this. Okay. And that's what you're seeing. So I wish, and you're seeing with this, like this is the one I play and there's no volume in it whatsoever, like zero. So I'm just watching it, and I've been watching this too. Would I buy Germany here? Yeah, I just wanted to get hit. I think it's going to really come in. Their energy policies is just a disaster, and it's fascinating because they just don't see that it's a disaster. They're just so far. It's interesting watching policy because the politicians, after they've been in office so long, are so far removed from reality that they don't really understand that you need power. So. It's kind of interesting to watch, but I like these names, but I think that Germany's going to come in again. Yeah. Unless they change what they're doing. They have a real problem, but yeah, I like it. I mean, truthfully, I wish I owned this, like this Russian. I bought this before they closed it. And I sold a bunch of puts against it. I think when this reopens, and it will reopen, when they do reopen this, you're going to see massive, like just absolutely a massive rally in Germany, in Europe, when Russia's stock market opens. And that's when you're going to make money with it. That's how I look at it. EIS, but it's a longer term kind of trade. So I wouldn't be in a hurry. I mean, could it keep going? Sure. It could grind up to these levels. Maybe there's 5% there, 6%, but I don't see a big reason that you have to hurry there, but it does look good. Zeus, yeah, I like the name a lot. I think you just have to understand the space that you're in, and you just have to, this is not the kind of reversals you want to see up here, right? So just watch, and you don't really like to see this either. It doesn't mean it can't correct itself, but this is not really what you want to see in a name. You really don't want to see this kind of movement, right? Netflix short. Yeah, I mean, I'm still shorted. I think we talked about that in the room. Hold on one second. Yeah, I mean, what's to do? There's nothing to do with it. Just leave it alone. I'm trying to stay short it, just so you know, like my whole thought is I'm trying to stay short it going into earnings. I think earnings are going to be an absolute disaster. I really do. I think you're looking at something like this. And then maybe you'll bounce off of it and there's a trade, but I think you could easily take this out off of earnings. So hopefully we just keep that cushion into the number. That's kind of my plan anyway. Good morning, Sheltered Corgi. GLTA, I love volatility. Okay. Are they merging? Is it a merger? One of those SPACs? Other than that, I don't see any reason unless it's like a SPAC. Yeah. I would just be careful. I mean, like, I would definitely be doing that. I would definitely be something I would consider. I think you should be looking at dividend tickers. I'll tell you what I would be focused on. I'd be focused on the rental side of the market. I don't know anything about this Schwab U.S. dividend equity. I don't know what the yield is. I'm the wrong person to ask. I would be focused on, is it NRZ? Was that the one we were looking at? I would be focused on things like this, like this paying 10%. Yeah, I understand people think it's going to come in because the real estate market comes in. Look, national average renters, it's cheaper to rent now than it is to buy. It's the first time it's happened, I think, in a very long period of time. It's going to stifle home buying. And I can see it. I'm just telling you, like I say it with people. Like there's no reason to put yourself in a position where you need to be buying a home right here. Like you're not going to make money. So if you're using it as a place to live for the next 30 years, go for it. But you're just not. You're going to have a real problem. And so I would look at things like that. I mean, I think that makes sense. Also the oil names. Like if I was going to, I mean, these are just going to print money for years now. You just keep averaging into these names if you're just looking for yield. So what's going on, Amazon? So this had a little breakout to it, and it kind of pulled back. You see this little here? It's kind of telling you that it might be over. I don't know that that's over. I'm not so sure that could always reverse and make a higher high right here, right on that RSI. So I'm not so sure that's over. You just watch it. Watch this is what I would watch if I was long this right here, man. Look, I mean, it basically drew a line for you. It doesn't get any clearer. But I wouldn't be in a big hurry there to sell. In a couple of years, you'll be able to buy a home. I don't think it's going to get as bad as 08, but I definitely think home prices are going to come in. So, yeah, I think really. I just think they're removed. I think they're very removed. I don't think they're bad people. I think it's like our politicians here. They're just so far removed from reality. They don't understand that. A mom driving her kids to school is now paying $400 a month in gas in their minivan. And buying a $60,000 electrical vehicle is not the answer. It's not. Yeah, I like RSX. I mean, right now it's kind of halted, so there's not really a whole heck of a lot we can do. We kind of have to like it, Rose. But I think that this is going to just be a massive, massive winner, especially with what the ruble did. And I frankly think that's one of the reasons why they're putting pressure on them to not even open it, because they don't want to see, how well sanctions actually, like I showed somebody this the other day. They were talking about how the ruble was destroyed because of their sanctions and what they did. And I said, is it? This is when they entered. This is where you're at, right? I mean, it's been a month. Okay. They're actually rallying against the dollar right now. So in other words, what you're seeing in the past month, people would rather own the ruble than the dollar. Something to think about. Something to think about when you look at it from that perspective. KSCP. No, would not go near that. Ow. So you can't give me a symbol. Everything's a symbol to me. No, ZM could have real problems, John. The issue with ZIM and DAC is you have to understand something. All their routes got disrupted. If they're going to sanction lumber, if they're going to sanction caviar, if you're going to sanction vodka, all of a sudden I don't need as many shippers. I certainly don't need as many containers, right? If I don't need as many containers, I don't need these guys. And that's what you're saying. That's what's happening. In a nutshell, it's exactly what's happening. So I'd be really careful there. I mean, that's the problem with a war. And, besides obviously all the other things that are horrific about it, but that's the problem with the current environment. They're just making policy and they're not understanding what they're doing with the policy and how it's affecting the world. Unless their goal is to, have these kinds of issues, which I don't believe for a moment, but where I'm going with this, like, I just don't see for the life of me what they're thinking with energy. I really don't. As far as energy policies, I know people like look at this and look at what's going on. This is just beginning. Like, I don't know how to stress this. This is just beginning. This can get really bad. Really bad. So people don't understand how ZIM can really, and shippers can really affect things. I've already seen it. Like, it's interesting. I was walking around the shopping yesterday, and supermarket, and it was the first time in the store. Go to a Publix down here. First time I can remember being in the store where I was watching people actually clip coupons, like actually walking around with coupons again. So I don't think people understand when you cut shipping and you cut commerce, how many people are actually affected by that, what that's going to do to GDP. Now, I want to end on this note. You're going to have Fed minutes today. They're not going to be good. So just understand that. The Fed minutes today are not going to be good. They're going to be hyper aggressive. That was pretty clear yesterday on what's transpired. So just keep that in mind. But be careful out there today. And, no, you don't short into when you're down 2%. You cover when you're down 2%. And you see how it plays out. So keep that in mind. And if you need me, feel free to reach out. Everybody, trade to win today. IEP always makes sense. I'll end there, okay? I'll end there. IEP to me always makes sense. I mean, like, you just don't bet against this guy. You just don't. This always makes sense to me. If you're looking long term, it's someplace to park capital. Just do that. It just makes sense. I'll do Amazon real quick. I don't think that this is going to affect them at all. You come back down to here, it's probably a buy. You're just sitting in this range. I don't think you're coming back down to here on Amazon. I really don't. So, all right, I got to jump, everybody.